back once again. You are here on the Unchristian Podcast. Thank you for joining us today. I am Dumiso Mazibuko, your co-host, and I am with...
Tutunkosi, the other co-host.
Yes. I'm good. How you doing, man?
Yaphila.
Good. We have not shot in how long?
In a very long while.
Yeah.
The previous episode explained why
Yes,
we haven't shot in a very long while.
Absolutely. It's good to be back. Good to be here.
Uh-huh.
Happy to see you.
Yes,
Still
we missed you
still
guys.
light in complexion.
I understand that goal.
Sasemuhle.
Yeah, we understand that.
Siyabonga, eh?
Yes, it's the
Whatever
glory.
you're doing to maintain,
No,
please
it's the glory
continue.
of the Almighty.
My gosh. Welcome to you who's watching us today. If you've not subscribed, please subscribe to this channel. We are this close to 10,000 subscribers. And I don't know why you're not subscribing. But we'll talk about it. Thank you for today, for being with us. We have got an amazing topic, very interesting, fascinating topic, unusual discussion that you will not find spoken about on many pulpits. That's how we do. We just take what is not spoken about and we speak about it. They say that all problems that are female problems all begin with men.
Of course.
Menstrual cycle, menstrual cramps, and today we are talking about menopause.
The worst men of them all.
Menopause. We're going to look at its effects. What is menopause? What's early menopause? Ngizwa kuthiwa nama-peri-menopause. And I was shocked to find out that men are going through menopause as well. So I don't know if it's contagious from the women in our lives or it's our own, but our guest today will tell us. Today we've got a menopause activist, author, traveler. She is an entrepreneur. She's a speaker. She's an amazing woman. Miss Xoli Madlala. Welcome, ma'am. How are you doing?
I'm great, and how are you?
I'm great. Thank you for being with us today.
It's a pleasure.
Yes. We really appreciate you coming to educate us on this phenomenon. Xoli is the author of a book called The Peri-Menopause Globetrotter. This is the book, and I want you to get it for yourself. I want you to, and she's going to tell us where you can buy it and all of that. But, Maef, what have you learned about menopause? What is menopause? Or we give it over to Xoli to tell us.
Well,
because
because ngihleze kwakhe, right, the expert. You understand the transfer knowledge. Yes, the knowledge has been transferred. But honestly, I think myself and many other women have thought menopause is something that happens usumdala, usugogo, usukhathele, and kuba those that do know mhlambe bazi ukuthi it's just hot flashes. You know, ukuba moody. But there's things that go deeper than that. If unenhlanhla yokuya kwadokotela who will diagnose you correctly, then the solution is patches and creams and all that stuff.
Sure.
But there's more to it, right? And futhi lokho sikuthola because it's not anything that's widely spoken about. And you won't find a teenage girl who actually knows what it is or even look out for the signs, And we grow up thinking, this thing is just for old women. When men go through a midlife crisis, then women start menopause, and which is not the case.
It's a real thing, isn't it?
It's a real thing, and it's not the case. And that's why we have this Xoli Lana to actually tell us.
So before we go into it in depth, just a little bit about yourself. What's your background? How did you get into talking about menopause and all of this? Who is Xoli Madlala?
Wowza. I hope you're not pressed for time because Xoli speaks too much.
Let's go.
Right. Xoli, born and bred from Pietermaritzburg. I am a KZN girl.
You understand?
And KZN in the house.
Interestingly, the guest I was shooting yesterday is from Pietermaritzburg.
Oh no. Okay, Pietermaritzburg, take
it's
over.
Dominating this week, yeah.
I am two of my siblings. My sister, she came when I was 13. So I always say that I grew up feeling like an only child. When my mom fell pregnant, when I was 13, I'm like,
it was a weird thing,
what
wasn't
is
it?
this? Why was I not consulted?
Exactly. Like come on.
So it's two girls, and I come from a single family entity.
Sure.
When it comes that I don't know the side of my dad.
Sure.
So I grew up in Madlala through and through. And I moved to Joburg. It's been 1999.
Oh, you've been around. You've been around.
Before Y2K.
Yes.
What was I doing in
at the
99?
brink.
Was I
Just
finishing
at
off
the
primary
brink.
school 99? Yeah,
Is
whatever.
it? Jeez.
I'm
So I
exposing my
guess
age.
I'm giving away my age. Then I'm a proud 1978, like a
Black
fourth
don't
floor.
crack.
Come on.
Don't
Definitely.
crack.
All right.
And I did travel and tourism at school, one of those random courses because
Yeah.
I had not applied. I don't know what I was thinking
Yeah,
of.
yeah.
Anyway, come January is like, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
First choice, not available.
Yeah.
Ended up doing travel and tourism.
Yeah.
Fast track, I did a number of stints and I came back full circle. And I worked as a flight attendant for a number of years. And that's when the travel and tourism made sense.
Yeah.
And also the title of the book, it leads to the Globetrotter.
Yes.
And I've been in Joburg. I've done a number of things. I've got a contemporary African print clothing line also.
Oh my God. I was looking at this right now. I'm like, I need to get it. I was about to ask which shop you got it from. Gande
This is from me.
Please,
So,
man.
like,
Wow. Yeah.
Please,
You're going to tell us where to get the book and also how to get the merch, right? Yeah.
And yeah, I do a number of things. Also, I've got an NPO. I do a lot of charity work with a number of children's home. And I love outdoors. I'm a hiker. I've bungee jumped. I've done skydiving, shark cage diving. I love being out there.
It's amazing.
And I love food also, where food is concerned. Coming in.
Yes.
And yeah, that's the gist of it.
Sure. So before we get into the definition of what we are talking about, menopause and all its dynamics, how did you realize there's a book in you about this topic?
When your back is against the wall and you need to empty yourself. That's how the book came about. I started journaling initially. And at some point, I'm like, you know what? I think the message is bigger than this journaling. It needs to go out there.
Right.
And as much as during that time, I was already doing lots of talks around menopause, but I felt that there's never enough time to speak about it because it's such a broad subject.
Okay, so you're doing talks already on menopause.
Yes, I have been doing
so
it,
let's reverse. My question should have been, how did you get into the menopause speciality or the menopause field?
The space itself.
Because the book came later, right?
It was brought by my own personal experience. I went into premature menopause in my early 30s. And I don't know, because I heard you mentioning the different types of pauses, like peri, early, whether this is the time that we should lay the foundation.
Go for it. Yeah,
that we
I don't know. Yeah.
Because we might lose the audience.
Of course.
So it's always good for people to understand what I mean. We speak about menopause as a blanket statement. We say menopause, but there's so much that is tied to it. There is puberty. Right. When a girl is born, you get into adolescence and then you go through these changes physically and you get told, stop now, play with the boys. If you sleep with the boys and
this
play
is
with
what's
the boys, you
happen.
might fall pregnant.
So you know,
yes. So there's puberty, the beginning of the reproductive years, the periods, you will fall pregnant, and then menopause is the opposite of it. The factory is closing, for lack of a better explanation. The women, the periods, they start becoming sporadic in preparation of them ending. And their chances of falling pregnant also naturally is going out of the window. And then the period that is leading to that decline, that ending, is called perimenopause. So it's the transition. And that is when the female hormone, especially estrogen, is going haywire. And it's the one that is responsible for so much of our functioning as women, from the top of our head to the bottom of our feet. Hence, it's got so many symptoms that are tied to it. And normally we speak about the hot flashes, the weight gain, loss of libido, but there is so much.
Hair
and
loss,
that is
brittle
why
nails.
Most women will miss their transition because they're not getting the typical, mostly spoken about symptoms. But I mean, things like your dry skin, ukoma. And I'm giving away my age. They used to be get I can write ukoma. So another woman might not be getting hot flashes, but their skin is going dry. As you mentioned, their hair is thinning, falling off. Others are struggling with gum diseases. They keep going to the dentist. And dentists, because maybe he's not clued up also, they keep doing what they're supposed to do, but they're not understanding that it's more of a hormonal thing.
I see.
So the perimenopause journey for every woman is different. Just like periods, pregnancy, everybody's experience is different. Some women will breeze through perimenopause. Periods just start becoming irregular and they stop. Some women, they will get mild to severe, moderate symptoms. Same as periods again. Some women during their periods, they show up for work, they still go to school, but they're struggling.
Sure.
What's I'm not okay.
Sure.
But, and then there's the other batch where like their lives get turned upside down. The symptoms are so severe.
Wow.
Some even when they still like of school going age, they are known because first 2 days, 3 days they don't show up at school because of their struggles. Same as menopause, there is that group of women that are just gonna struggle so much that they can't go through it in silence. They can't go through it without having to raise that flag to say it's shubi but like go bad.
So tell me, with periods are like a few days, like 2 to 5 days.
Yes.
When these menopause symptoms are acting out, is it also a short period, or it's like
what is the time frame?
Random?
No. For some women, it can be a few months. Some women, it can be a number of years. It can be 6 years, others 10 to 14 years. Hence, then it is important for women to be as knowledgeable as possible because the normal ages of transitioning or the perimenopause is supposed to be from 45 to 52.
Sure.
But then if you say now the transition starts about like, say for some 10 years or 14 years, chances are in their 30s, some are transitioning. In my case, then chances are I transitioned in my 20s, but because I did not know, I was not aware, I was just putting it off to one thing or another. So it is important that we know and start tracking also as these changes are starting to happen, which means that it's important to have those conversations, to be informed, so that when that head of change starts rearing its presence, then you can start journaling, go, okay, fine. Suddenly I'm presenting with this. Suddenly when I have dairy, my stomach starts acting up, things that I never used to. Then you put it down.
But then, Xoli, that becomes so difficult because a lot of people can put dairy, let's just, the dairy thing. It's, all of a sudden I'm lactose intolerant. We understand that. And, or you could put, like for me personally, my skin and my hair and my nails become dry and brittle in the winter time. So this is so, so important. Is it best for medical now advice? Is it best to go straight to an OBGYN or stick with your GP and then hopefully, they'll help you through the journey?
Important question.
Which is the best way to go with this? Because the symptoms that you mention in the book, guys, this book, it is so funny. It is so funny. But the symptoms that you mention, I mean, when you first had your hot flashes, as per the book, in front of your mom, she thought to Nenyo.
Yeah.
And so, but that's the thing. It is so difficult to pinpoint the symptoms because there are so many other things that could be factors. And at your age, I understand it was very difficult because you couldn't just jump straight. It's like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, it is.
It's menopause. You went through the struggle. But now how do we then get to, do I stick with my GP or do I go straight to the guy?
Okay. So firstly, if you're younger than 45 and you start presenting with all of these symptoms, it is important that you do not self-diagnose or make an assumption because you've got Dr. Google now.
Yeah,
you can check, have an idea, but still it does not rule out that you need to go for a consultation. And obviously the first stop will be your GP normally. And if you're younger than 45, as I say, you need to do certain tests so that it can be confirmed that indeed it is you transitioning into menopause. They rule out any other possibilities because, as you mentioned, it can be things like your thyroid. Some person can be TB suddenly. That's why they're sweating like this. So if you're younger, tests need to be done, then it can be confirmed. And also when you do tests, it's important that you ask questions, see what is the results print out about. Because I've got a high school friend, for example, she missed her transition. She used to go for her annual checkups and everything, but because she was still young, the doctor was focusing on the other tests more than the ones that are tied to her reproductive organs. And only to find out when we were talking end of last year, when she read the book, and she went back to the doctor to say that actually, I think I might have transitioned without knowing because she was on the loop also. So her periods were not there. Yes. So that's another sign, obviously, irregular periods. So because she's on the loop, periods are nowhere anyway. And then mostly she did not get the typical hot flashes. She suffered through the psychological symptoms because that's another thing. Menopause, I mean, the transition, it comes with physical symptoms. emotional symptoms and psychological symptoms, but the psychological ones hardly get focused on. Instead, women, especially if you're young, the doctor might be quick to prescribe antidepressants for you, only to find out that it was hormonal. So that's what happened in her case. And then when she got the printout and she was now looking, because she knew what to look for, and then she's like, the chance is from 2019 when the results started changing. Yes, that's when she was, but it was missed because of the age. And it's been proven also that Black women, obviously, we transition different to other races.
Wow,
that is why we can't just say that I will leave other races to be at the forefront of changing the menopause narrative or leading the menopause conversations for us, because we all fare differently. And in the book, I state my reasons of writing the books. They're long. But one of them is we need to normalize taking care of our health, especially as Black people. Because normally when it comes to health, we like taking wait till the worst of times.
Then we
but
go
also
to the doctor.
The important thing is to talk about our health. We don't act right concerning our health because we don't talk about our health.
Right? Yes, as Xoli was talking, and she said something about us Black women. Well, Black people it triggered something about us Black people in general. You know, Uguti, once something starts happening to you that you don't understand, you think it's spiritual. Right?
Yes,
you think it's spiritual, and you do write about it in the book. Do you mind just elaborating on that?
Absolutely.
Uguti, we think it's African chemistry.
Yay!
Or church spirit. Church spirit.
Fire. I like being informed. So when this happened, I really took a personal interest, because as much as I had the most amazing gynae with Dr. Tlakula, he passed on last year. Such a bummer. He was really one of those that really served with heart. Make sure that he would educate me as much as possible. But we know that consultations are never long enough. So it was upon me now to learn as much as possible. So when I was reading about the symptoms and all of that, then another article popped up about the spiritual awakening. I'm reading Spiritual Awakening. I've got the list of menopause symptoms. I'm like,
fine.
Some of them. How do you know then when it is
spiritual or it's menopause? Wow.
And because I talk too much, or I used to on my Facebook timeline. Then I put it out there, like, guys, let's talk about it. And the comments from people, others were like, actually, what does this mean? Because I'm also going through this.
Wow.
And I took it also to the people who's like, Bible, like, is there anything that speaks about menopause in the Bible? Is there any story and all of that?
I want to know Sarah.
Yes, with the babies. And then now you wonder about the women with the issue of blood also. Because, I mean, with the irregular periods, some, they become lighter. Others really become heavy. With the work that I've been doing, I get so many stories from women. Others would say, I can't even leave the house during that time because it is hectic. This other one, I did an IG live with, she's based in London. She would even pass out because of how hectic her periods ended up becoming. She says, initially I thought I was having a miscarriage because like the clotting was so much. And then you're like, maybe the women with the issue of blood was actually
something
menopausal, but we
to
do not
know.
But yes, the spiritual part of it, like the ringing of the ears, tinnitus, you wonder now because there is go to like abalozi when people have to go some will say they get the ringing in the ears. Then I'm like, okay, fine. When do you know then when it's this reproductive health issue, or these conversations that we need to have for understanding this. The 3 a.m. night club will tell you that we wake up at 3 a.m. without fail. No alarm is set.
No way.
It comes up on the spiritual awakening thing. And I mean, people are also
time.
prayer time.
Yes, it's prayer time.
The Holy Spirit is waking us up at 3.
And the menopausal women are also up. Like, so what is the cause of you being up? And that's when I guess discernment, being informed and all of that, then it helps, because then you are able to piece things together and also kind of like, okay, fine, but what else then is happening above this? Because ultimately you are looking to find that common thread that is speaking to how to best pinpoint and nitty-gritty this. For example, I once got heart palpitations at church. I speak about that. It's one of the symptoms. Women have ended up in the emergency room thinking they're getting a heart attack because it's like, yay, kula.
It was the devil. Fire.
Yes. Wow. So also with me, it was we were having the blood drive. So I just donated blood, and I was the one that was in charge. Also, I had introduced SA and BS to the church. So I was always the one that you have to donate. You can't be encouraging people, but
and then when you're not part of it,
I go donate, and then I come back. I'm attending the last service. Then I'm sitting there. I'm feeling so weak. I'm feeling so many things. But I ate, I've donated blood, I've never struggled. And then, yes, and I love her. I was like, what do I do now? I just like I went down like this, really, And I was like, what do I do? Do I raise my hand up? Lord, what is happening? I'm having conversations with God. Praise and worship team is going there. I love it was a lot. But that is why, as I'm saying, that the church needs to be knowledgeable about this, because I'm sure if I had said this is what is happening, the first response was going to be like, listen, prayer warriors, Sila, only to find out, because I was just having that heart palpitation moment. Because after a while, then it went away.
So you painted a good picture of the different symptoms that you can go through normally. Your experience, what were you going through having all of this early? What's happening in your mind? How did this affect you emotionally? I can imagine it was confusing maybe, but what was Xoli going through having these things early?
As I say, it took a number of years, firstly, to put everything together and understand that something was wrong. Because, as you mentioned, hot flashes, my mom thinking in Nyongo. Now I'm thinking like, you know what, whatever the body is going through, struggles with sleeping, night sweats, insomnia. I'm thinking it's the traveling because I'm a flight attendant. It's like, I was traveling to this time zone. I'm back at home. That's why I cannot sleep. And issues with dairy, you're thinking like, where did I eat? Maybe the food was not prepared properly. Keep putting things off the physical ones. And then the emotional ones now started rearing their heads up. Like, I love people, like talking and all of that. But suddenly I was just suffering from just low mood, that irritability, mood swings, and still try to show up, now like you're living a double life. Because as a flight attendant, like the moment you get to work, it's like lights, camera, action, smile. But inside you are in this turmoil, like this, like something that is always feeling so heavy that I can't put my finger to it because I'm doing well, everything, I'm affording my life, kumnandi, but I'm feeling.
Girl has got it together.
So would you say like it affected your mental health?
And then it got there to the mental health. I mean, yes, there was the brain fog, which is just forgetfulness, which messes up with your self-confidence. Because one thing you're like, do me so, and whatever you wanted to say is like, this is looking
I'm experiencing so much of that right now.
And then like, I don't want to talk to people. I don't want to bring attention to myself because the moment all eyes are on me, I'm like buffering, disconnect. And then I started entertaining why are we here? Like the point of life, those you're thinking like those are the questions that you're supposed to be asking. But the difference was, as I was asking myself those questions, I was starting to envision the peace now that comes with dying. Because I'm struggling with so much. I don't have a word for it. I can't cry it out or away. Because normally I'm a very emotional person, and once I've cried, then it's
you
out.
feel better.
Once I've spoken about it, it's out. But no, I can't cry it away. I can't speak it away. I'll be sitting with people, and it's like an out-of-body experience. I'm looking at myself like I can't wait to be gone. So that and I'm staying by myself at that time. So when I'm not at work, I'm at home. At home, I'm not going to gym. Cut myself out socially. I'm not eating. I lost so much weight. There is a photo there where I was so skeletal, and it moves me so much every time that I look at the photo. Personal hygiene out of the window.
Really?
It's like, I mean, I was sinking into depression, but I'm not aware because at the time, as I say, I'm staying by myself. Nobody is there to also pinpoint this. But when you're moving differently. And listen, even brushing my teeth, I'll be like, why should I go brush my teeth? But the streets people, they go for ever without brushing their teeth, and they still have their teeth. Jeez. Like maybe brushing teeth is overrated, not? And I'll be taking a bath and I'm just imagining how good it will be if I was to just get up, hit my head, die, lights off, I'm gone. Yeah. Driving, let go of the steering wheel, crash, it will be over, get the peace. And like, if I was to die, who's going to miss me? I don't have children. My mom, my sister is here. So she'll close the gap at some point. Yeah. She'll cry, she'll move on. I just wanted the peace. And then God being God, then one day, like I always say, like the cloud just cleared.
That's
like,
the moment I was about to ask about. When did that enlightenment come?
Yeah. What? It just came out of nowhere. It's like, what have I been going through all these years? And that sounds like, no, you've been entertaining suicidal thoughts actually. Yeah. And then listen, if it was a cartoon, I think I was
But like, about how many years was it of not knowing what's going on?
I think about 6 years or so, showing up and just going on and so that is as I say, it is important that we know about the psychological effects of it because I think they are the most dangerous. Yes. Because through research I've learned that some women have succeeded actually in taking their lives and due to firstly not understanding what was going on because we don't talk about this. Yeah. And that is one of the moving reasons that I felt like I need to really raise the alarm, let this information, these conversations be normalized so that a woman who is struggling out there can be like, you know what, I've looked at everything, I've done all of the consultations, nothing could it be that I am transitioning? And because perimenopause is the worst period. Yeah. Because once you get to the other side, as I was saying, as the periods are becoming irregular, you need to have gone through also 12 months without periods for a woman to be deemed to have reached natural menopause. Right. Okay. And then once the factory is closed, your periods are done, then you're going to be on post-menopause. And that's where you're going to stay for the rest of your life. And then premature menopause, that's when menopause happens before the ages of 40. And then if it happens from 40 to 44, it's called early menopause. And then, as we say, then the natural age from 45, normally there's no need to be doing the tests to confirm that it's that. Because that time your hormones are going haywire. Even if you do the test, sometimes then it's not going to be that guarantee. So just also look at the age and then assume that you are transitioning unless if something is really, really...
I've got a question. I'm listening to you now and I'm like, it is so much. It is so much because this one thing can give you symptoms of this, give you symptoms of this, and you're thinking it's that. Yep. And because I'm thinking now through your journey, you could have been diagnosed depressed, right? And they miss menopause. Yep. You could have been diagnosed so many things. So for women with partners or even family members, how do you help the woman through this journey when as the partner, as the husband, as the person in the close circle, how do you help this woman transition, or what do you do for her? How are you showing up for her?
It's so confusing for us as men, by the way.
Right? It's confusing.
The open letter to men is
there's a chapter for us right there.
There's a chapter for you. There's also an open letter to you. More than anything, being informed is the first foundation, because once you're informed, then you are able to firstly be empathetic. Right. To be mindful of the things that you might say, because sometimes we're so quick to make flippant comments. For example, when I was still working at the airline, when I told my male leader, what was happening, his first response was like, "Oh, you'll be fine. It's just menopause. My sister went through it." Like, booty,
Johnny. Dismissed it like fast.
I was so flippant about it.
And this important conversation, I know you're right about it. The employer. We'll come back to it, right? Yeah. So
I was like, but how? Because I mean, it's my experience. How about firstly, like that empathy? Then you ask, how best?
Sit you down.
What do you need? You know. And so once our men or the children or whoever...
Guys, we can be dumb as men. We're sorry. We apologize.
My sister went for it.
Let's keep it moving. Once we are informed, you are empowered, and also have the conversation, obviously, because as I say, in his case, the sister had gone through it. But then what if that your wife's experience is totally completely different? Because it's all individual. Just like with periods, you can't be like, oh yeah, nakama hot wings, because it's what works for my or let me make your hot water. Find out, what do I need?
I remember my ex-wife, when she got pregnant with our kids, I used to try and guess what she's gonna crave because ngafuna ukuvusa ebusuku. So
Anticipate.
I mean, I would buy everything that I think
That's to
she's
avoid.
gonna need.
So it is important to have that conversation to hear from the person. Because how would you like me to best support you?
Yeah.
And also, other than that, men coexist with us.
Yes.
And they are the ones sometimes that can pick up the changes before we see them. Because we are so in the thing that you miss it as it's showing its head up. There's this amazing lady that I met up at one of the events. She told me, like, you know what, I wasted years also being misdiagnosed and all of that up until my husband came across you on social platforms. And then when he came, he's like, you know what, babe, I think you might be menopausal. Because like most women don't want to hear that. It's like,
it's over now, because there's that thing, once you reach that stage, it's like it's over, it's done. Guys, I'd like to read a passage for dear men in the book. Dear men. Dear men, guys.
Talk to us.
She's not crazy. She's not being a drama queen. She's not looking for attention. She cannot get a grip. It's another one of her episodes. She cannot get over it. No, she cannot snap out of it. Heck, she might not even be aware what she's dealing with. Do you understand?
Wow.
Lest you have a walk a mile in her shoes, then maybe you can have an opinion. Okay, so we don't want your opinions, guys. But you know what? Scratch that. Because even if you have been in her shoes, the journey is personal. It plays out differently with every individual. Guys, do you actually realize how difficult this thing is?
Powerful. And you know what happens? I realize with just even periods, when the hormones are going and the ladies PMSing, sometimes you as ladies don't even recognize
that you're
how
PMSing.
moody and snappy and all of that you are until someone holds you by the hand and says, babe, I think you're PMS. You're like, oh snap,
No. Sometimes you're PMS and then you can you're PMS.
Interesting.
So do you understand how this thing to men? And the last sentence is, so compassion, patience, and empathy is key. And it gets so difficult because I think sometimes you don't even know what's going on with you. And like, guys, it's a lot. Like right now, I'm feeling so confused because remember when we had the conversation the other day, I was like, one of my family members thought she was going through menopause. She was pregnant.
How old was she?
She was 45 at the time.
45. She didn't see it coming.
She did not see it coming either, right? Because by the time you're 50, in your 50s, on the other side of 50, right? And I think she also had the same assumption, only to find out that she was pregnant and not menopausal. And she was actually happier about the menopause than she was about the pregnancy, you know, because she's like, first born yam is like in her early 20s. What am I going to do with a toddler? You know, you know, so it is so much. It's so much. As we're thinking about it, it's actually making me emotional because you're going through this. You were by yourself, right? There was nobody to walk with you. But more than anything, I know we're not at the end of the show, but just thank you for the strength to write this because it is such a personal journey. And you decided, I'm going to put myself aside and help Izwe Lonke because that's what this is doing. You know, I was so excited for this book and I was like, I need to get this for my mom and she needs to get for her friendship circle as well, because the other thing we also spoke about was a lot of marriages end at this point, right? A lot of men, or the marriage itself doesn't end, but the husband then seeks comfort elsewhere. You know,
but the marriage loses that
closeness it once had, because now obviously you speak about the vaginal dryness, the low libido, and that is an important factor in marriages. So how would you then suggest a couple tackles this? Yes, we did speak about being supportive, but would you think therapy? I don't know, like practical ways of supporting a partner. If, like, let's say when you were going through this, you had a partner. what would you personally have loved your partner to do for you?
Yeah. Because in our dumbness as men,
right?
Still we want this painted out.
Yeah, like
what would you like
to
us to, and I know it's specific woman
yes,
to woman,
yes,
but
how
does it look like?
Yeah.
Okay. Firstly, I believe that to be able to communicate to someone, you need to rediscover yourself, what you going through, what your preferences are gonna be, and how you just want the conversations also to be had. I always say, firstly, change of environment when having important conversation plays a huge role. Home is supposed to be a light space, but normally you find that home is where like all these difficult conversations are had. So sometimes go for a walk or go somewhere out. Then you bring that up. And then you tell them, good, okay, fine. Firstly, this is what I am going through. And for example, because you spoke about the intimacy parts, the vaginal dryness and all of that. And as an ramp, some women, their libido actually shoots through the roof during that time. So not everybody is going through lots of libido. Other women, they're like, listen, yay, I want to swing off the chandeliers all the time.
Imagine, at age 50 as a guy, mine
like
is testosterone is...
So that is when communication is important.
Hey guys, life in the guy.
And Okuluma, it plays a huge role. You can't say, oh yeah, we spoke about it, because we are continuously evolving. Rediscovering your body as a woman also, because for example, I even talk about it on the book. Loss of sensation for me, it became a thing. Like I love being touched and everything. How suddenly when you're being touched, you're like,
you're not feeling
I
it.
can be watching the paint dry. I can be making a budget, whatever.
Yeah.
When I'm busy, like this is what gets her going and all of that. So I had to now rediscover my body. Because, okay, fine, what gets me going? So that I can be able then to speak to the person to say, when you're doing this, next. Yeah. But then this is how we like silana man.
The pots have shifted.
So I see they lie. I make an example to some women to say that start exploring. If you vaginal dryness, there is
creams
diet
and lotions.
Also. Yes, creams, lotions, diet. Also the foods that we eat. Because during the time with the estrogen, most of the symptoms they go with drying, dry scalp, dry eyes, dry skin, vaginal dryness, because lubrication. So it's important, like the food that you eat, hydrating and all of those things. And also the mind plays a huge role. So if you might be feeling overwhelmed, because some women also struggle with like that fatigue, you're so tired. So you're dropping the ball maybe when it comes to the chores, your responsibility. Let him know, but start helping me more with these things, so that I am not as physically tired, so that I am able to show up even when it comes to this part of our life. Simple things like, the headache joke used to be a thing that women use that, but it is one of the real symptoms. So then those are the things which, okay, fine, how do we navigate that? Like there's this other old man from church, he used to be like, my wife used to use that reason. Then I started learning because it's a net sprint. But he did not, he was not talking about it from the menopause kind of, he was just talking about this headache that keeps getting used. But it is indeed one of the symptoms, like headaches and worsening migraines and all of those things, new allergies. So women need to really know what their symptoms are, so that they counter them, and then they're able to speak about them, to say, good, these are my symptoms. And also, as you say, that the man might be going through his also midlife transitions. Then they find ways. If we go to nighttime, we're both tired, because also we're chasing careers, we're chasing businesses and this and that and that. Then after 3 a.m., prayer.
Yeah.
Who says?
Yes, of course.
It's not.
Of course,
like then,
it's God.
It can happen. It can happen.
You're on fire and everything.
It can happen.
Yeah, but
it's making me think of another cultural concept. Uguti, you've been married for such a long time, and then ubaba figete mama ngathi usudinga umama mncane ozokusiza. Yeah, understand? Because now I'm thinking, Uguti, that could probably have been one of the reasons.
And
why.
the twin beds that we grew up seeing at some point, like a double bed.
And then
Actually, like as you're talking, these things actually are starting to make sense.
Absolutely.
Or it's because you didn't have the language for it. You just knew it's part of ukuga, you know, and so you just live with it. And now with all this information that you're bringing to the light, it's like guningi. There's so many things you could do to help save your marriages, to help you from ungayothwasa ungadinga ukuthwasa ukhishiswa amadimoni ngenkani esentweni ungadinga ukukhishwa amadimoni. It's just the big M.
And the premarital counseling also. When you're talking about church and menopause, menopause hardly gets mentioned
because it's not a marriage thing; it's a youth thing.
Huge
because also we see it's something so far
away. Far into the
we'll
future.
talk about it later.
And it's not something that needs to be discussed now.
I think as men, yes, like you're saying, we have to be supportive and all of that. We have to understand Uguti as a woman at that time. You're not yourself. You're not the young lady I met you know, 20 years ago. And because I'm trying to address the issue now, men going out to cheat because they want to close. Actually, if you can see it in a different way as a man, you've now got a new woman.
Right?
You don't have to go find a new woman out there. You've got a new one here that you can discover and learn. I think what hits us hard as men is the emotional aspect where your emotions are down, your self-esteem is down, because also your confidence, we feed off it when it comes to sexual connection. And now you're not feeling it. You're not feeling sexy. You're not feeling beautiful. So now I must see you sexy, whereas you're not giving me that energy
back
because you don't feel it. So, and if a marriage has been 25 years, 30 years down the line, man, it's unnecessary for a cheating to happen or a divorce to happen. But what kind of conversations can we have then to say, listen,
I love how you said that it's like a rebirth. Japanese, they've got the word called koneki. It's like a second spring. That's how they call menopause, which is beautiful.
Oh, interesting.
That's beautiful. You know? Second spring,
It's like a rebirth. You rediscover yourself. And before we even get to the relationship aspect, normally most women also, when they hit menopause, it's almost like people start making some terminologies with our because sometimes they change their hairstyle, they want to enroll for a course, they like rediscover so much. Kids are grown normally also. Your money now is yours. You're no longer paying for school fees, varsity, whatever. Kids are out of the household. And that's the time also, obviously, that you discover yourself as a couple. Because sometimes parenthood can make couples drift apart.
Absolutely.
Because the conversations that are being had normally, we drop off, this is what is happening, school fees, this and that. And you almost become sometimes like sheep in the night, unless if you are intentional about your you time. So some couples during this menopause period, that's when they look at their spouses and like, why are you? Because of like all of these things. And that's when you might have to recharter the family plans, also the dreams, the goals. Maybe you'd put off things like traveling and whatever. Because I mean, those things can spark and bring fire into so many ways. And also if you notice, because I mean, the weight gain, it can be a thing. Then if you've noticed that and you know that you've checked or two, but because I mean, if it's hormonal, it's got nothing to do sometimes with how you eat it, but it's because the hormones are doing whatever they're doing, and then, as you say, the self-confidence and all of that. If you're informed, then you can have that conversation. Okay, fine. This is my thoughts, because I know most men always think like, we don't comment about the weight and all of that. But that's when I say that either mention, look, I saw this article or this book that speaks about this. What are your thoughts? Then you can gauge, Uguti, where is she mentally about her body confidence and her experience? And then you can approach it based on that. And also, I mean, some women struggle with things like joint pain and all of that during that time. So if she had a gym membership, suddenly going to gym is not her biggest thing because it's difficult. Then you can be like, let's go for an afternoon walk on a random
and
afternoon.
it's not arthritis.
Yes.
It's not. I'm sitting here thinking, I would be arthritic right now, but no, it's menopause.
Like that.
So
and then you're like, no. Then you start, if you enjoyed the walk, then you'll be like, okay, fine, mental note. Then you know, good, it's your bonding time. Like, no, this time we're gonna maybe park near this park, we buy ice cream, we go for a stroll. Then she gets her movement. And if she's enjoying it, you might find that then she decides to incorporate walking. She doesn't have to go to gym, but then she's still getting her fitness going. And we know that, that has got emotional and psychological benefits to it also.
So tell me about medicine. Are there medications that can neutralize this whole situation or make it at least 60% better?
Navigatable. Yes, there is. In terms of science, there is what used to be called hormone replacement treatment, which is called HRT. Now they call
Sounds
it...
expensive. It sounds complicated and expensive.
It looks like birth control.
You know what I'm saying?
You have to spend for every month. But it's force of nature. Why do I have to be spending for this? Can't you get it for free? I know. I used to complain so much because, at some point also I was on it.
Yeah.
As I explained that by the time I went to seek help, I was ready to take my life. So I was like, get me something that's going to make, And he told me about hormone replacement treatment, and I went to read up about it. Like with everything, it's got its pros and cons, but you need to make the decision for yourself. Most people trust the medical professionals in such a way that they do not want to be informed. They do not want to take the responsibility for such decisions.
Or ask questions.
But yes. Yeah. This is your platform to be able to be as educated as possible. Right. Yet again, it's been proven that Black women, we the least hurt when it comes to medical consultations. And also there's that notion that Black women, we take all the pain and whatever. So we do not get given that attention that we need compared to the other counterparts. Hence, it's important to be able to sit across from the doctor, advocate for yourself, ask questions, and if you feel unheard, change doctors. We're not married to our doctors. We owe them no loyalty, but we like that loyalty to my doctor. Because sometimes also they're not knowledgeable in everything. That's another thing. We expect the doctor to know everything, but sometimes that one thing is not his specialty, and then you've got no obligation to continue sacrificing yourself. Go look for the second help. So hormone replacement treatment, or MHT, is there, but it is advisable that before you get to it, if you can, look at alternative approaches. Look at your lifestyle, firstly, as we spoke about diets, the foods and all of that. Because, food plays a huge role. And the more we do well in life, our food choices, sometimes they're not the best, junk, on the go, this, and like in the olden days, organic was the way. They were eating lesser, whether it's lesser meat, more stuff from the ground and all of that. Sleep tracking. Sleep plays a huge role. And with a generation that does not sleep well, and sleep, that's when the body repairs itself. It corrects so much. And I personally also had to be intentional with that, because one of the symptoms, as I said, it was night sweats and the insomnia, then at the work that I was doing. So I needed to go back to square one. Like, how do I correct my sleeping? Because even things like weight gain gets exacerbated because you release the cortisol and you wonder why I'm struggling with losing weight, because you're not also sleeping properly. You wake up, you're fatigued, you're irritable, you're tired, because it's been said that if you're not sleeping well, you're worse than a drunk person, because your coordination, everything is all over the place, is messed up. So sleep tracking is important. Cell phones, we like in the middle of the night when you wake up, you're posting.
That's the first thing we reach for, man. We need to replace that, man, with a book or something,
Read the book.
With this book.
Yes, start here.
Yes, the perfect book, the things that you watch, if you're going to be watching, whether it's TV or whatever, but don't overstimulate your mind so that you have the wind down time. be committed as to when you go to bed. It might not be exactly the same time, maybe every night, but have that kind of like go to okay, I'm gonna speak about myself. Normally 7:30, I'm getting ready for bed.
Mine is 9:30.
Normally,
That's late.
8:30. Like I attended an event the other day. Around about 8, I could feel my eyelids feeling heavy. I'm like,
it's got some
if I was it's almost like that because sometimes.
So usuwa resign wa retire kwa groove wena. Waba ngo9 sufuna ukuya ekhaya.
DJ mega
DJ kanti khona bafikayo ngona.
Like, you know, when you were young, it's like about 10. And that's like
when you start getting ready.
No, around about 10, that's when sometimes I actually wake up, maybe to go to the bathroom. Then I check the time and I'm like, it's still today. Already I've been sleeping, you know. But the beauty of it though, you hardly need alarm clock because then around about 4:30, the body has gotten enough sleep. Then I can go to gym around about 5, my day starts and all of that. So as I said, sleep tracking. Hydration plays a huge role. Cutting down on sugar. Sugar is such a culprit also. We keep getting told that fat is the worst enemy, but sugar is the worst. Even things like triggering some of the hot flashes for some of us. Like I know when I've had like a sweetness, then the hot flashes also become more frequent. Things like your spicy food, you love your hot wings, and you're like, you know what? I know I'll pay the price. So you learn, once you're informed, then even when you do the things that are not right for you, but then you know, it's okay, that's the price to pay, but it's intentional. But if you don't know, then you keep like, and you wonder, why am I struggling with all of those things? Stress management also, it plays a huge role, as I said. People that know me can tell when I'm thinking about something because suddenly can like personal sum. It's like, oh, why are you suddenly glistening? It's like the thoughts, you know. So stress management is very important, which leads to be more mindful, be more present, and know the triggers and all of that. When you can see that somebody is starting to kind of rile you up, just be mindful. Like, you know what? Not my circus.
You've identified it.
Not my clown.
Not my zoo.
Not my monkey.
The battle is not mine, it's the Lord's.
Talk therapy also. You know, like talking. I find that talking plays a huge role also. Most women that are already knowing that I'm menopausal and whatever, they feel so lonely because they're like, I don't know who to speak to. Or sometimes even if you speak, because like, my partner can only listen up to it for so long. And also relatability. When people that get it, you know, one person asked me, how does a hot flash feel like? And you try to explain it. But when you, like, with people that get them, we're like, like a thriller. They get it. Like, it's a cold day, but you're going to be carrying your fan because you don't know when you might get it. But some people look at you as like, but it depends on a line. So talk therapy and relatability is important. Finding your tribes and all of that. And if you feel like really all of those things have not brought you any relief, then you can consider then going into the hormone replacement treatment. Then there's also supplements also. Right. It's always also again that thing. Western medicine will say that they are not properly tested. There's supplements, whether it's like cohosh and all of that. But we can say that we are African people. So we've gone to the field to get a makambi, and you will become as right as rain. So you do what works best for you. As I say, I've been on hormone replacement treatment for almost 3 years. And I was like, guys, I'm still in my 30s. Am I going to stay on this thing forever? For foreseeable future? I'm like, no, let me find ways. Listen, in the chapter I talk about it, the chapter is titled Peas in the Pod, because most of the symptoms did go away. But because also it's a hormonal thing, the body is continuously changing. So there's never going to be that one thing that fixes everything. There's the things that maybe that are important for you that will go away. For example, the hot flashes went away. I was like, oh wow, it feels so
what a relief.
Without hot flashes. But at the same time, I was like, after weighing, I was like, you know what, maybe I can rather live with the hot flashes and find other ways to deal with the other things and move on with it. So they did work. I've tried the black cohosh also, and then for a while, like the right, but because as I say, it's hormonal. It's doing, so you can't say I've closed all the plugs. You close here, boop, you close here. Then another thing is.
So what I like about the book and your work around this is that you are getting women to a place of acceptance, and then treating this experience from an empowered perspective instead of a victimhood perspective. Because when we feel like this is being happening to me, it's being done to me, and I'm the victim of this nature, it's so hard. You feel defeated. You feel like a loser. But from an empowered perspective, where you are even proactive in certain things, you can foresee, like the triggers. With law. You already see, and talk to me about that. How important is that phase? Acceptance. I'm going through this. All right.
This is
and how does it help?
Reclaiming your life in anything, it plays a huge role.
Come on,
Reclaiming this phase of life when it happens to you, especially when it happens before time also. Because I think when menopause happens at the natural age, which is from 45 and above, society expects it to be happening. Right? But now when it happens when you're still young, it does so much to you. You have to have internal conversations. How am I navigating this? Do I keep quiet because then like my value and worth as a woman is deemed to be over? Especially if you're single. Which man is still gonna want to intentionally be like ketawena, unjalo, menopause and all of that? So it is important to rediscover and re-establish your value for yourself first. Because if you know your value, then you communicate it in how you speak, how you carry yourself, how you live, then people you find that your value is even all the more actually when you get to the other side, because you decided to say that I'm embracing this and I'm showing up, I'm owning it. There is Dr. Nadia, I work with her. She is a specialist for bone cancer and all of those things, and she loves me to bits because she's like, Xoli, firstly, you do not fit the phase of menopause.
You're too pretty for this thing.
First of all,
you do not. You're energetic, you're positive, you're thriving, you're living your best life, and that's what we need. So it is important because it comes also with a bit of identity crisis. Because as I've said in one interview, in your 30s, your friends are getting married, they're having their firstborn, maybe a secondborn. They are in a different phase of life. When you're on the other end of the spectrum, you try to speak to the older women, they're like, why? And all of that. So it comes with that identity crisis. So now you need to where do I feature also with all of this? For example, also in the cultural sense, there is people that believe that a woman that is no longer going on their periods is deemed to be clean, because there's people that deem periods to not be clean. Understand? They think periods are dirty and all of that. And also then when women have reached that point, they get entrusted with certain responsibilities. You understand? And also it's deemed like wisdom and everything. So I asked them like, Mina, so can I be called to be sitting there? Sit there, chair, So what? And they're like, slow your roll.
Not yet.
In terms of age, you're not there. But it's important to even go that far, because we don't speak about this. Then how do I navigate this? Should I come with Abo Mama Batala? Because like life took me there or not. So it is very important to discover your value for yourself, and then also remove the mask. The mask is what holds so many people hostage. We must own our truths, whatever that is happening. As I say, this comes with infertility, obviously.
Yes.
And can imagine for a woman in their 20s that is still waiting for the right guy to get married, and then they have children, and then premature menopause happens due to, whether operation. There's about my endometriosis, the cysts that women now then you have to go this route, and then it leads you to a surgically induced menopause. There is cancers where like due to, for example, breast cancer, then certain treatments, the medication, it leads you to medically induced menopause. And then like what?
Guys, I remember when I went through medically induced menopause.
I'm sure it was like
it was a side effect. It was a side effect of, and we were talking randomly about it in the office with the older ladies, and I tried empathizing. Guys, I get it. And because of my age, they thought I was crazy. I was making fun of us. I'm like, no,
I'm there right now.
I'm experiencing it.
I understand because this is the side effects I am getting from the medication I'm taking for my endometriosis. Yeah. So I mean, I get it, and they were like, you know, so it's that it's just
But but tell me, you as a younger woman who's not in menopause yet, is there a sense of fear and like anxiety looking one day?
Yes, of course. It is. It's very scary. I don't want to lie to you. One day I'm actually going to get there because as Xoli had said, you go through a phase of your life where you almost lose yourself, right? And you spend so much of your time finding yourself, and then there has to be a point where you have to lose that, and there's physical changes and this, that, and the other. We were talking earlier, Uguti, as much as I have children right now, one day I would love to have children again, but I'm not sure whether that's going to happen or not. But now, the fact that I now need to accept that for myself, Uguti, it might never happen. Do you understand? It's like, because I had asked her this question as well, you know, and at that time I made it seem as hypothetical.
Asking for a friend.
Asking for a friend.
But losing that choice to be able
that's what it is.
Because you understand, and that's what she said. And because you make a choice, I don't want children. But then when that option that freedom gets taken away from me, like mine, it's like I'm getting older. I've got all these things happening with my reproductive system, you know. So how do I now accept that? It's a lot.
It's a daunting thought, right? That's the importance of the book, right?
Right, exactly. So how do I now accept Uguti? This is a choice I might not have. How do I now think Uguti? Because I'd also love to get married.
Sure.
You know, but I'm getting older, and what if I meet a man who doesn't have children and I can't give him? Like, how do you, like, that struggle, that war within yourself?
Before I get to that, also I wanted to add the part about as we get older, the quality of our eggs also, obviously the quality I get like, you know. And as people, we hardly speak about the options of like whether it's freezing your eggs and also like IVF, as you were alluding, also your cousin that fell pregnant at 46, that's when oopsie babies happen. Because as the periods are going like this, you're thinking like, okay, then you relax on your contraceptives and all of that, and it's like how? It's like I was preparing for menopause. I thought I was in menopause, and because some women, like, their period can disappear for even 11 months, and they're like, yes, month 12 is loading, then I'm done, and then it comes, and then it's like back to square one again. Then you have to count and all of that, and that is why it's important to continue to be vigilant. And then we do not speak about the importance of freezing our eggs. Because as you say, you're still sometimes hoping to get married. You're still hoping to have children when life gets to that. And know about the costs involved. Because as you're even saying, HRT, like most of the things are expensive. Utando Pato has got this book where she shares about her journey. She went through alcoholism and also breast cancer. And then she had to look at that option of freezing her eggs. And then she shares like the cost involved. Like you rent, like to keep your eggs in the storage and all of that. So it's almost like, are these things only relevant to certain people? What if Uguti, like it's somebody that really cannot afford life? What does it mean? How do they navigate that? More conversations that we need to actually have about such. So it is important that we always speak about the options and normalize them. I speak about it in the book. As Black people, we like giving nicknames also to things. Once we know that Ududu froze her eggs, then umntana wakhe goba frozen, because it's like, this is how she ended up. Because then
ice boy, I said,
we encourage each other to talk, to mask off and share, but then we take that information and use against it. Like my nickname is like Peri-Menopause and all that, which I don't mind though, because it's what I stand for, But some people also don't know how to take some of these things. Understand? Like you tell them, for example, my gynae had that conversation to find out, did I want to have children? It's like, these are your options. You can still carry a child, so we can use your sister's eggs. And that would have been a conversation that I was going to have with my sister if I wanted to. But in my case, I did not want to have children, which worked out as a plus. But I can imagine that I was going to be like, would I want to? Then it opens different conversations in the family, because also it's beyond me and her now. And whose child is it?
I'm just thinking about that now.
Child, and you were the surrogate, or is it your child and sister? Your sister was the donor, and then now finding the semen.
And then his guys is like, or you're making the wrong choices or decisions. Like, all of those things, and also the in-laws. What do you say? Do you tell them? Do you not tell them? Like, the conversations are so broad around big. That. But it is really important, though, that we sit and introspect and own our truths and listen to our instincts. Also, I always say, the Holy Spirit, we're always divinely guided. We always know, but we choose to silence that when we get to certain situations. We choose to give voice to other people more than what we're supposed to. I used to make this example, when mental health came to the fore, there used to be sometimes even some pastors, they'll be like, yo, ye of little faith, when you're taking antidepressants, no, you cannot. Fire. Yeah. Up until they
themselves started.
It happens in life, and then they actually, God told me, God directed me. So it is important that you continue your own, because ultimately God speaks to you in so many other ways. Sometimes some people might not get it because it's not their chapter, it's not their journey. Because somebody was saying that even the IVF and the freezing of eggs, biblically, in terms of Christianity, is it a thing, or you're practicing little faith also?
Exactly.
Then those, yet again, that you look at ultimately.
Yes.
What if that's the path that God had chosen for you, and that you can be that one that raises up and say, this is my experience, and then you liberate and free other couples that are there at church that are struggling with infertility, but they are toying like, should we, should not, because it speaks to those things.
Yeah. So I don't think there's anyone who's listening or watching who does not know where to get the book right now. So tell us, where is the book available? How do they get hold of you to come and speak at their gatherings, my baby shower, my conference,
Yes, baby. Now, baby.
Yeah, whatever.
The book, I went the self-publishing route.
Awesome.
So the book is available through me directly. Xoli Madlala on Facebook, Instagram, Smaskov, it's Xoli. Also online, SA Books online. It's through me. And for speaking engagements, also Xoli Madlala 78@gmail.com. Let us speak, whether it's at your church conference, women's conference, men's forum.